Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Hey It's a Wonderful Day and says, am I the arsehole here to leave my ex-best friend during her pregnancy? I, 25 female, had been with my best friend Jessica, 24 female, for over 5 years. We met while we were both working at McDonald's when we were both 18. Started the same day and became best friends ever since. Even though our lives turned out quite differently, as I ended up finishing my degree and became an accountant, and Jess became a janitor at the university. I still loved her very, very much, and we maintained to be our original self as when we were 18. All this until a year and a half ago. While she's working at the university, she met this fella, Funnel, who's 69 years old, 2 years ago, and started to see him romantically. At first I wasn't a fan of the relationship as there's such an age difference, but Jess moved in with him and I started to accept their relationship and got to know this Funnel guy. Funnel has 2 daughters in their late 40s and a son in his early 30s. Has grandkids in their late teens and early 20s. Overall, this guy makes me so uncomfortable as he is quite creepy. But hey, as long as Jess is happy, I'm happy. About half a year ago, I recognized that Jess's body changed and asked if she had her period. She answered no, so we went and got some pregnancy tests. Of course, it all came back positive. All 3 of them. She stated that she hasn't had her period for over 2 months. When we found out, I offered anything I could possibly think of. Driving her as she does not have a car or license, offered her financial assistance as I make significantly more than she does, and shelter as I own my own house and has spare bedrooms, as she never paid rent in her life. She lived with her mother before she moved in with the old fella. I basically told her that whatever she needs, I will be there, but first things first, we need to go see an obgyn. She said yes and I drove her home. 2 days later, I asked if she wanted to book an appointment and when should I take some time off work to take her to these appointments. She basically told me that she had her period and she doesn't think she is pregnant. I stated okay, we will see a doctor and you can get a check since it may be a miscarriage. She then basically ghosted me. I tried reaching out multiple times and got 0 answers or reply. Her mother even reached out to me to see if I've been in contact with her as she has not been in contact with her for a while. Which is super unusual for her as we are constantly in contact. I was super worried about her well-being as the old fella might be controlling and telling her that she can't share her pregnancy with anyone as we live in a small town. After 3 weeks of trying to contact her, I gave up and told her that if she doesn't want my help or want me in her life anymore, I'll be happy to cut contact with her. No reply. I blocked her number and her social media. Now half a year later, I found out she is very pregnant. Still living with the old fella that's probably going to die sooner than later due to him being an alcoholic and having a history of cancer. Leaving her with nothing as she does not own anything and lives paycheck to paycheck. Am I the arsehole here to just leave her knowing that her and her baby will struggle? Scorvia says not the arsehole. She has what she looked for. She also stopped talking to you. She abandoned you and preferred to stay with an old man twice her age. She stopped talking to you. Why should you be the one to come back? Opie says, I guess I just want to get through to her what she's signing up for if she does not have any support. She hates her mother and has no other friends. Tan says, not your monkeys, not your circus. You did all you could. Let your mind rest at peace. You can't save anyone who doesn't want to be saved. If you think the child is in danger, you can contact CPS, but she is an adult who made their own choices and decisions. Chicken Latte says not the arsehole, let her struggle. Go make a new friend and focus on enjoying that. Two Bionic Knees says wait, you thought she might be being controlled by a man who has an entire family behind him, so you called a few times and gave up then blocked her. Cutting off people doesn't make you the arsehole, but it sounds like you suspecting something was wrong but made nearly no effort to check on her then very carelessly threw her away. Like not going over there with maybe her mother as well and physically seeing her. Demanding to talk with her and find out if everything is okay, for me, makes you the arsehole. Opie says she's 24. His family probably does not know about the pregnancy as he introduced her to them as his roommate. I text and call 10 times if not 20 times with no responses, even with ultimatums that if she doesn't get back to me, we'll have to cut contact due to my own mental health. Bionic Knees reply set saying, so you suspect he might be controlling her. You don't think maybe you took her phone. If you suspect someone is a problem, go see them physically in person. Also, she wasn't cruel to you. She didn't attack you. She didn't badmouth you to anyone. You cut contact on someone you suspect might be in trouble, which cut a communication line if she ever reached out for help. You had zero reason to block her. She didn't respond, okay, and do whatever you want, but if you suspect someone is in trouble, assuming they have access to their phone and cutting off their ability to ask for help makes you the arsehole. Opie responds again saying, I guess I'm prioritizing my own mental health at the time as I offered and got cut off by her. At this point I'm waiting for the baby to be born and she would definitely need financial assistance. She may reach out by that time so we could have a sit down conversation. In addition to this point, I did go to her place of work but could not locate her. I did drive by his apartment, no sign of her. As per her mother's last update, she lied about the whole situation to her mother. And the majority of the comments on this one were just like sort of mind your own business, move on, etc, etc. She's made her choices. But I gotta say, I'm with two bionic knees on this one. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And breaking it down, someone you've considered your best friend just starts dating some 69-year-old dude who has grandkids as old as her. She gets pregnant and then just disappears without a trace. If any of my friends did something similar like this, I'd be fucking concerned. And don't get me wrong, it sounds like OP's done a hell of a lot here. They've done a lot, the offering of financial assistance, driving her to and from, trying to be there to support her in any way she can. But the cutting off at the end there, I didn't quite get it. I didn't understand why. OP did talk about, to protect their mental health, which I also get. So I can only come at this from my point of view, and I would have definitely left that phone. I would have definitely sent a message with something like, if you ever need to talk, if you ever need me, I'm here. Just talk to me about it. Which as always, I know is very easy for me to say being on the outside, etc. But I'm just considering that from like my best friends' relationships, and I know I would do anything for them. OP comes in with the update and says, here's the update. Jess, 24, had the baby, and after 10 months of no contact, she reached out. We went for coffee, and she updated me on what happened in those 10 months, and admitted she cut me off on purpose, as she is jealous of my accomplishments. The 70-year-old baby daddy is now 71, and has asked not to be on the birth certificate, and he's not. He hid the baby from his family, 3 adult kids in their 40s. He was not there during the delivery and didn't even bother going to the hospital. She got kicked out of his apartment and living with her abusive mother, where she desperately wants to move out. The reason why she reached out is due to she ran out of money due to her shopping addiction, and she now needs support. She asked if she could stay at one of my rental properties for free, or if she can borrow some money from me. It was a pretty easy decision for me, as I told her straight up that I'm not an ATM machine, and if she would have kept me as a friend 10 months ago, I would have considered to help her. However, I'm still willing to be friends and work on our friendship. She's pretty upset about it and said that since I'm well off, I should help her. I told her no again, and she will revisit this conversation again if we maintain friends. Well, since that conversation, I invited her to have lunch and coffee a few times and stopped paying for things and driving her around like I did before. She pretty much stopped communicating with me immediately. I guess my question is, am I the arsehole here to put her out on the streets? Edit. We live in a pretty small town on the East Coast, so everyone is in everyone else's business, since we probably know their parents or even grandparents. Real estate here is not as crazy as the mainland. We can purchase a relatively new townhouse for $250k and a mini house for $200k. And now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story is from a throwaway account with later the wife responding to the post at the same time. There's 3 posts to this. This first one says, am I the arsehole being pissed at what my wife said to our niece? My sister and brother-in-law were abusive parents to my niece, Charlotte. I always tried to protect her, but my wife and I were only able to get custody 3 years ago. We adopted her and she's a good kid at heart, but she still struggles a lot. She's still in therapy and has come so far, but finds it difficult to accept unconditional love, and that kids don't have to be perfect. While she's usually fine with my wife and I, she still sometimes tends to see our daughter, Chloe, as ungrateful and spoiled. I've worked really hard on this and it's a lot better, but sometimes it comes up in their teenage squabbles. It's not perfect, but the girls generally get along. Last Friday they had an issue. I was at work, so this is based on what I was told after. Chloe was refusing to do any of her chores and arguing about it with my wife. Charlotte jumped in and basically called Chloe lazy and said that she should be a better daughter like her. Apparently my wife got pissed off and told her off. She reminded her that she was lucky we were taking care of her and to stay out of it. From there, it got bad. My wife says that Charlotte was extremely rude about Chloe, but she also admits she told Chloe that we didn't have to take care of her, and that basically, unlike Chloe, we can send her back to her parents if she keeps it up, ignoring the fact we legally cannot. That's just completely fucked up. Ended their fight with Charlotte just going to my parents for that night, and she's been really upset and withdrawn since. When I got home, my wife filled me in, and I was honestly pretty furious. The first thing that came to my mind was, what the fuck was wrong with you? Which admittedly wasn't a productive response, but I was honestly just floored. This issue is that Charlotte doesn't get that a kid deserves unconditional love, even if they're not perfect. So you fucking tell her that you'll kick her out if she doesn't behave. All the progress I worked with her for is going to be shut back again. I was mad and we fought about it. I get she can be difficult, but that was inappropriate. However, she still refused to apologize or anything. I've tried to talk to her and explain that we love her and that it wasn't meant the way it was said. But my wife is just accusing me of babying and favoring Charlotte. Apparently I'm being unreasonable, thinking what she did was disgusting. But I should care more about Chloe, as if this is a competition. I'm still honestly pretty pissed at her, while she just claims I'm unreasonable and being a shit dad to Chloe. Okay, Arachnid says on the back of this one, saying, not the arsehole. Your wife said a fucked up thing and really messed up with Charlotte. Your wife needs to apologize. It looks like you're gonna have to have individual long talks with everyone. OP replies saying, that's exactly what I think. Honestly don't know how she could say it, let alone keep defending it. I've been trying to talk to the girls about it, but Charlotte is still icing me out, other than apologizing repeatedly. The user says, I hate to tell you this, but I think your wife could say a thing like that because that's how she actually feels about Charlotte. A charity case who should be grateful for scraps. That reaction wasn't a woman mediating a fight between two of her daughters. This was her defending her child against this hostile kid she took in. If she spoke in the heat of the moment, she would have been horrified afterwards, not doubling down. It's possible she never wanted Charlotte. Poe Adams says, not the arsehole, you are correct here. It doesn't sound like you are favoring Charlotte at all. You aren't condoning or excusing her behavior. Your issue is with how your wife dealt with that behavior, which I agree was completely inappropriate. Your wife and you adopted the child. She is your child. She can't be given back. And threatening to return her to an abusive situation is basically abuse in and of itself. Your wife should never suggest such a thing and should be ashamed that those words came out of her mouth. OP responds saying, I agree, thank you. There's no world where I'd ever give her back. I love her way too much to ever do that. I honestly don't know why she doesn't see it like you said. Accomplished says, your wife is only going through the motions with Charlotte. I'm sure she and Chloe have made sure that Charlotte knows her place. OP responds saying, as far as I know, this is the first time it's come up like this. Charlotte definitely would have reacted obviously in the past. Chloe and her do get along mostly. I definitely don't think Chloe is a problem beyond being a typical teenager. Lex says other comments from OP apparently shows he threatened to divorce her if she didn't adopt Charlotte with him. Igay Do Crime says, oh, and there it is. OP's wife is a bubbling cauldron of resentment, and it finally came out in the open. So all the theories that she does in fact view this as her daughter versus the charity case they took in are 100% accurate. They took Charlotte out of a blatantly toxic environment and brought her into one with simmering toxicity beneath the surface. With that kind of ultimatum underlying Charlotte's adoption, A moment like this was inevitable. Lex replies again saying, "It feels like OP wants to be the savior but not do the work. The fact that he brought this child into a situation that started with an ultimatum is upsetting. Charlotte doesn't stand a chance if these are the adults in the situation." So Shark Eva, who found this post, put an editor's note in and said, "In the wife's post, Charlotte becomes Kelly and Chloe becomes Sarah. There is now also a son. There are some age differences as well." And this is the wife's post, which was titled, "Am I the arsehole here for walking out on my adoptive daughter and telling her everything is her fault?" 10 months later. So I, 36 female, have 2 kids, a boy, Tom, 5, and Sarah, a daughter, 18. Plus my husband's late brother's kid, 16 female, Kelly, who lives with us. 14 months ago, my husband came home with Kelly and said she would be staying with us for a while. I barely knew Kelly because since her father passed away 10 years ago, her mum has been struggling with mental health and addiction. Apparently Kelly was in a bad situation at home due to her mother's new boyfriend being a, let's say, not so nice person. He told me that it was only for 3 months while his parents, who recently moved abroad, got settled. Then it went to 5, till his sister had her baby. Just excuse after excuse till I stopped asking. As time went on, my husband just acted like she was our daughter, even bringing up adoption a few times, which I refused, even when he threatened divorce. I know I sound like a monster. You have to realize Kelly isn't easy to deal with. My husband doesn't allow her to face any kind of consequences. Kelly acts like she's the golden child and my daughter is the black sheep. She has violent meltdowns. She's threatened our son that my husband will leave us if she tells him because he loves her more, which traumatized Tom. She has tried and failed her mind games with me, pretending to be a saint. Her main target is my daughter. She's extremely cruel towards her verbally, like she has slut shame her for every little thing, like wearing makeup, or tell her she's lazy / good for nothing for stupid reasons, like sleeping late at the weekends. She'll take her things and will either lose them or destroy them, then cry to my husband, who will excuse her behavior, even though he spends 70% of his time at work. We're all in therapy, which isn't working like group sessions. When someone points out Kelly's behavior or adoption, usually ends up with everyone fighting. It all came to a head last month. Kelly was in a good mood all week. Sarah had a big 18th party with all the attention on Sarah, especially from my family, Kelly mentioned in therapy. Myself and Sarah were having a stupid fight over a non-issue because Sarah used all my shampoo, which she didn't replace or let me know I was out of. Kelly came out of nowhere screaming at Sarah, calling her a moocher, lazy, trash and spoiled. She then said Sarah was an adult now, and she didn't pull her weight, so she should get kicked out. I lost it and I told Sarah was my daughter, and if she didn't change her attitude, she'd be the one kicked out. Kelly didn't say anything, just went into her room. About an hour later, my husband came back and started screaming literally in my face, calling me names, telling me he wants the divorce so he can protect Kelly. So I said, okay, I want a divorce and 50-50 custody. I get my son, he gets his niece, now get the fuck out of my house with his niece. They left and have been staying with his brother since. Husband now has to deal with Kelly all the time. He wants more therapy to fix our issues so we can get back together and be a family again. They both came over yesterday to collect the last of their stuff, and Kelly asked me if it was her fault. I said yes it was, just as much her fault as her uncle's. Husband told me I'm being a monster and Kelly is my daughter whether I admit it or not, and I've abandoned her when she finally had a stable home. And she doesn't mean to lash out, it's just due to her trauma, and if we work together we can help her work through it. Honestly now, I don't know what to do and feel like an arsehole. Harry Shaz says on the back of that one, not the arsehole, your husband only wants back with you to dump Kelly on you again. She's a troubled teen and needs some serious help. Your husband is more interested in feeling like he's helping Kelly, not actually doing the real work involved, than in protecting his own kids. Hire a good divorce attorney. Ask about getting child support for your son and possibly to help your daughter with higher education costs if that's possible. Also ask about getting a court order that your husband can't have Kelly around your son, given her past threats against him. OP says, the wife, I'll be pushing for supervised visits with Tom. As of now, it only had him with me or his sister-in-law present. Harry says, but specify that these would be supervised visits without Kelly present. Your husband seems to have blinders on and can't be trusted to make good decisions without a specific court order. Wife responds saying, "In my country, supervised visits happen in a center with a social worker and security present. I can call multiple witnesses to make sure she won't be allowed in." Knitted Jedi quotes that last comment OP said and says, "I'm glad you live somewhere where they take child safety seriously." 3 days later, OP's wife replies again. "So yes, the divorce is going forward, even though my husband has begged me to stay because he can't handle the consequences of his actions. And yes, he is the user that we read on the first post. He did change a few details. And yes, this isn't our first fallout with me blowing up. Kelly isn't my daughter, and I wanted her out due to their mistreatment of Sarah. We nearly got divorced last year, but he used therapy and my emotional abuse as a tool to manipulate me to stay. Sarah hadn't spoken much to her father since the fallout because, as people mentioned, even on his post, leaving a lot out about Kelly and just putting down Sarah, it was clear who he only cares about. Sarah said she wants nothing to do with him and has warned family to butt out. I'm sick of his emotional and mental abuse towards us for his niece and his threats of divorce to get his way. So I hope he makes this easy on everyone. Yes, Kelly has had a bad childhood and has suffered, but she isn't my problem anymore. I want zero contact with her and will make sure she won't have contact with my son. I have plenty of evidence and witnesses to make it happen. I can sound cruel, but she can fuck right off. She isn't my kid, so I don't owe her a relationship. And regardless of how bad her trauma is, she has no right to traumatize others. She could have had a life in America with her grandparents, but she refused to learn English. As for my husband being a real dad, that's irrelevant to me, because I won't get the truth. It would only cause more issues for my kids who've been through enough. Thanks to everyone for the advice. I won't be logging in after tonight. I said in the comments, English isn't my first language. Desert Chef says, your ex-husband can now deal with Kelly and all her trauma. Good for Sarah for cutting off her father. He clearly sucks at being one for his kids. Taberner says, so did you legally adopt her or not? That's a critical detail. Wife says, no, he claimed we did. I didn't want to adopt, even when he tried to force me. And a lot of people were quoting certain parts of both their stories, saying that, they both left certain details out of their own versions of the story, and they're both unreliable narrators. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved, truly. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.